Hey guys, and welcome to another Game Explain discussion. I'm your host, Andre Seegers, and this time we're joined by Derek Bittner and Dash Paulson to discuss all the Smash Bros. Updates from this past week. So let's get started. Alright guys, so I think we're finally hitting the post-E3 lull here, because this week was pretty uneventful. Some of them didn't really give us any new information at all. But with that said, there are a couple of interesting tidbits here. Unfortunately, that's not how Monday started, but it's about something we haven't talked about yet, so there's still some good things here. So on Monday, Sakurai showed off a screenshot from the new Pac-Man stage from the Wii U version of Smash Bros. Being Pac-Land. I don't know if it has an official name yet, so we'll just call it Pac-Land for now. In this one, we just see Rosalina side by side with a fairy from the game, apparently. Now, I've never played Pac-Land. I don't know if you guys have.
Nope.
This was, when I first saw this stage, it seemed to be really unusual. Like, I'd seen the game before, but it never really stood out to me. So it's odd that there's a stage here, especially because this stage is really ugly, honestly. I don't know. What do you guys think?
It sticks very closely to the original graphics.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, don't get me wrong. They did a great job capturing the ugliness of the original game.
Exactly. No, I mean, it's, honestly, I've never even heard of Pac-Land before this came out, before Pac-Man's announcement. I just did not know about it at all. Now, I'm not exactly a connoisseur of Pac-Man at all, but so that might have had an effect. But yeah, when I first saw this stage, I'm like, what the hell? It looks like a 5-year-old drew out some sort of level. I was like, what the heck is going on? But then you look at the original game, see how it is, and I sort of gained an appreciation for it. The thing that strikes me as the most odd, though, is where they're standing. Because if you look at Rosalina in this picture, she looks like she's floating. Mm-hmm. It's weird because it's not the edge of the level is not where you stand on. It's made to look like you're actually standing in the level itself, and it creates a very weird perspective.
Yeah, this whole screenshot is weird. I remember the first time we all saw the Pac-Land stage was in the Pac-Man reveal trailer, very briefly. And it's just, it wasn't a long enough shot of it to really get a feel for it, but this is just one of those stages I think I'm going to have to see in motion before I really know what to think of it, because, like you said, Derek, there really is no sense of, depth of field here. We can't really see where Rosalina and the fairy are standing. And even among other retro stages, these graphics really stand out as just being really strange. Mm-hmm. And I was familiar with Pac-Land, at least by name, but I had never played the game, so I went and looked up some YouTube videos of it after just to kind of familiarize myself with it. And it definitely does carry over the look of the game, very well. Now, whether that's a good or bad thing, I'm not sure, because the original game is really ugly. But, if nothing else, it does stand out. It has its own visual identity, even among the other retro stages, as having a different pixel look to it, not the typical Nintendo, NES pixel look.
And to be fair to the game, or to the stage, well, and the game, actually, the game is actually pretty interesting. Because as far as I know, I've never played it. It doesn't play like anything amazing. But even though it is ugly these days, the game actually came out in 1984. It precedes the original Mario Brothers. And by that standard, it was actually super graphically impressive. Even having parallax scrolling, which is something that didn't come around until really the 16-bit era. So it was kind of years ahead of its time. And even if it wasn't a great platforming game, from what I understand, it was still a platforming game. Again, one that precedes Mario Brothers. So in that context, it's kind of cool that it is here, I guess. That it is represented here. Because Pac-Man is a founding member of video games, basically, and it's cool to have a stage, representing the platforming side of that.
I didn't realize what year it came out. It didn't click in my head, but now that you say that, it does make sense now why it's structured so differently. Like you're so used to, like, with a platformer, to have it basically play like Mario, where you're just going from left to right, level to level, and not really much variation. And Pac-Land is so different because you go through 3 levels of basically one's a city, one's a forest, one's a desert, and then you get to this get to the ferry, drop off the ferry, then you got to go back home, and it actually starts scrolling to the left. Mm-hmm. And it's just a shortened version of all those other ones. And that strikes me as such an odd choice, but it makes sense because the status quo hadn't been established yet with Mario. And I think that'll help lend this stage a very different feel, because the way I'm imagining it is playing like a typical Pac-Land stage where you guys go from left to right, get to this ferry, and then start heading back to the left again. Mm-hmm. and rather than it being sort of like an endless scrolling thing, like Mushroomy Kingdom or something like that. And I don't know, it just gives it a very unique feel, and I kind of like it for that. I really want to try this stage out.
Yeah, I agree, and I know something I found funny was that there were a few people, well, I should say the Ridley fans strike again, because the Ridley fans kind of latched on to Sakurai's comment here, talking about how there's always someone bigger, no matter how big you may be.
And that's not the first time he's said a comment like that, too. He's had other size comments along those lines.
That's true, but I mean, I think it's pretty obvious here that he's very directly referring to Rosalina and the fairy.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any Ridley connotation at all, but it just goes to show that the Ridley fans will latch on to anything they can.
Well, that was my point, because they latched on to the previous thing as well. I forget the exact comment he made before. Yeah, no, they will latch on to anything. But with that said, I also still think anything's possible, too.
True.
Yeah, but I would not take this as proof either way. So, alright, well, moving on to Tuesday, we get a look at apparently an alternate costume, basically, that Link's going to have in the game, based on a Skyward Sword appearance. And this is kind of interesting for a couple of reasons. It's not just a pure palette swap. It seems to be more of a texture swap, where his model stays the same as far as I can tell, but they actually do change, the texture on some of his clothing to closer match how he looked in Skyward Sword. And that's kind of cool, actually, because even if it's just a texture swap, that still is more detailed than most Smash Brothers, alternate skins or costumes have been before.
This is actually, for me, I think was the most interesting picture this weekend, because, like you said, it isn't just a color swap. It is an alternate skin, basically. And I know there were some people who were concerned that because of the Smash E3 demo, they were concerned that there were only going to be 3 alternate colors for each character, 4, however many there were. And I wasn't really concerned about that, because it is just an in-progress demo. But this confirms beyond a shadow of a doubt that there are going to be not only probably more alt colors, but definitely alt skins. So I think that's this picture is pretty noble for that reason alone. The only thing that's not really working for me here is, for this specific costume, is that it's weird because it's the Twilight Princess Link, who has a completely different face than the Skyward Sword Link, but he's wearing Skyward Sword Link's regular clothes, yet it still has a hat, where the Skyward Sword clothes didn't. So it's a really weird mishmash of like Twilight Princess's Link's face and kind of a not quite completely accurate version of the Skyward Sword clothes. It's just strange.
It's kind of off-putting, isn't it? Because that's the thing I was going to mention. Like, it's an interesting picture, but it's kind of off-putting because it kind of looks very ugly to me. And maybe they'll clean that up a bit, but that's the problem with with these swaps. I mean, you can't give them a completely new outfit, because it was just I guess it's just that much more effort. But so it's nice we're getting sort of an in-between where we're getting different textures and whatnot. And I'd really like to see like what kind of other texture swaps we'll get for the costumes, because that's always fun, because a lot of these characters do have different looks to them, and seeing what they could do and play with when it comes to this. So it's nice that we're getting at least a little bit of a hint of Skyward Sword Link into this.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just wondering why they couldn't at least remove the tunic, or remove the hat. Because, I mean, when Link is wearing these clothes in Skyward Sword, he's not wearing his hat. So, I mean, I get why they can't make a whole new face model for it, totally, but why not just remove the hat, just to make it look a little more similar to its inspiration? I do think that this makes for a totally legitimate opportunity for Mega Man to have an alt Proto Man skin, though. Because it really is the same. It's the same, dimensions, just with a different skin.
Yeah, that would totally work.
All right, well, moving on to Wednesday, we get another look at the Balloon Fight Arena. Now, there's really not that much to say here that we haven't said already before. But I will say, when I first saw this picture, when I first quickly read Sakurai's comment, my initial reaction, before I reread it, was that, is this like a new mode in the game? Like, is there actually like a balloon fight mini game or mode somewhere in the game, or some kind, maybe like a challenge in as part of Smash Run, for instance?
I didn't have a thought like that at all. It wasn't until later when I saw everybody else's reactions that, was there some sort of new balloon fight mini game in this? I'm like, wait, you guys got that from that picture? I just thought it was like an interesting homage, because the villagers up special is the balloons,
right?
So yeah, I didn't get that sense of it, but it's possible. I guess it's possible, but it seems like such an odd choice to just single out this game to have some sort of weird mini game where you can only play as the villager doing the balloon fights. I'm not even quite sure what the objective would be because there's no sign that you can just full out attack them. So I think it's honestly just a picture set up to look like balloon fight without it actually being a new mode.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, when I first read that comment, same as you, Andre, I was kind of confused. I was like, well, wait, what is he actually saying here? Because I mean, he does seem to be saying there could be an alternate mode based completely on balloon fight, which does seem like a strange random inclusion. But you know, Sakurai has been known to include strange little mini games and Easter eggs in his games, so I wouldn't be completely surprised if that's what ended up happening. But I'm wondering if maybe this could be an event battle. I could totally see this being an event battle, like where you only play as the villager against other villagers and have to pop their balloons or something like that.
I really don't know they're going to do that, but that was my initial reaction. But when you reread it, like, you know, there's nothing there. Like, he could just straight up be describing the stage, too. He says it a little bit oddly. That almost makes it sound like its own self-contained thing. You know, but it very well might not be. It probably isn't, in fact. But it would be cool, and it would be interesting if this is his way of announcing it. Alright, well, I think that wraps up for Balloon Fight. So moving on to Thursday, we get what is my favorite picture of the week, being Nabbit, as we, you know, I think we predicted this. You know, he would appear in the new Super Mario Bros. U stage, because it just makes way too much sense. Now, in the screenshot, we don't see him doing anything of note, except for the fact that apparently the thing inside his bag is actually Luigi. And this is something we didn't predict, because we thought he might appear and like grab items and stuff and just cause chaos. But apparently he's actually going to grab other human players, which I think is awesome. I think that's really awesome. So I'm not quite sure how that's going to work though. Like, does he drop you, or does he run off with you if you don't, you know, get out in time? Is it like a grab basically, where you can free yourself if you shake around enough?
You know, I can't picture it. That's what I'm trying to figure out. Is like, do you just have to dodge Nabbit and try to get out before he goes off the edge, or are you just stuck there? There's a lot of questions to be asked about this, and unfortunately there's not really any answers, because there could be like a multitude of ways that this works out. Can he capture multiple players? Is it just one? And you know, if he gets hit by somebody even by accident, does that release a player? I mean, who knows? But it is just kind of hilarious that you know, he's not stealing items, he's stealing people.
Yeah. No, I mean, I could see maybe he just runs around the stage, and if he touches you, he just does a little grab and stuffs you into his bag, and then maybe you just have to jam the controller a bit to get back out of it, something like that. I mean, I don't feel like it would be an instant KO, like he just runs off the stage with you in tow, and that's it, because that just seems like it'd be a little too much for Nabbit. But yeah, I don't know. My feeling is that it isn't an instant KO. Maybe he just causes incapacitation and minor damage while you're inside his bag. But yeah, you know, like you said, we don't really have any answers. It's hard to tell.
I wonder if even like other people can free him too. Like if you attack Nabbit directly, will that free the character inside? Though I'm not quite sure why you'd want to. Yeah, I don't know. I really want to see how this guy's going to work. But did you have some idea about this guy, Derek? Some interesting?
Well, I had a thought, because you know, we played the new Super Mario Bros. U stage, or new Mushroom Kingdom U stage, pretty extensively at the E3 demo, and there was no sign of Nabbit whatsoever.
Right.
So I guess the question is, I mean, it could just be the demo build, of course, where he just wasn't designed to appear, or could you actually turn off stage hazards?
That's a good one.
And, that's a very interesting point.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't see him at all, so maybe it's possible they just had the stage hazards turned off, or it could just be specifically for the demo, Nabbit doesn't show up. But this is a full-on element that we just did not see, that did not appear at all, so that almost makes me wonder if just there's no stage hazards. But then again, we have the stage changing, you know, all over, so maybe there's a way to change it so character stage hazards don't show up.
Well, I wouldn't consider the stage transforming being a stage hazard. That's a stage. But I do think you could be onto something there. If not that, which I really hope that's in the game. That'd be awesome, having a hazard toggle. I think a lot of people would love that.
Turn off the yellow devil.
Yeah, right. Exactly. But if not that, this does at least suggest that even the other stages we've seen so far, whether in the E3 demo or outside that, could have even more or have additional stage hazards we don't know about yet.
Yeah, I think you could be onto something, Derek, because I mean, you know, just based on all of our time with the game at E3, the Mushroom Kingdom U stage seemed pretty finished. I mean, it seemed very polished. It seemed, you know, if it was in the final retail version of the game as we played it at E3, I would be fine with it. It didn't, you know, it just felt like a complete Smash stage. So it doesn't feel like that, you know, the way Nabbit shown off here, that he wouldn't have been ready for E3. So I really am wondering if maybe you're onto something there, Derek.
I hope so. I mean, it'd be a cool feature to, like, you know, because there's the whole final destination area, but, you know, people do like to jump around and do different things, but maybe not have to worry about certain hazards. So it'd be nice to have that option. And yeah, I mean, who knows what else, as you guys said, who knows what else they could be hiding in these stages? Because yeah, even with the 3DS version, we had Kome and Kotake show up and cause havoc, and the Yellow Devil showed up, but that doesn't mean other things can't show up now. It really is a mystery, but I don't know. I like the potential of this, and I kind of hope that option is in there.
Yep, I'm totally with you.
Yeah.
All right, well, moving on to Friday, we get another pretty interesting detail about the Mii Fighter, and that is specifically their stats will change depending on what size Mii you're using. It's actually very similar to Mario Kart, where basically the bigger Mii you are, you know, they turn into a heavier character. So in this case, it will make you more powerful but slower, as opposed to a smaller character that'd be, you know, lighter and faster. So, you know, this is something we theorized about before in our discussions, and I think it makes a lot of sense for this character, being one based around, you know, customizing, and I think it's just another neat little touch. The only downside I guess I can see with that is your Mii may not play like you want them to, which would mean you'd have to play, you know, either change your Mii or play as a different Mii.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I feel like it might have been better just to be able to, you know, choose what kind of stats you want your own Mii to have, as opposed to just, you know, locking them by size. Just because, I mean, I don't know, I don't think people are going to want to go through the trouble of changing their Mii just to, you know, have a speed fighter or a power fighter. But it does make sense, and I guess it makes things simpler overall. But I mean, just speaking personally, I usually prefer faster or, you know, less heavy characters. But my Mii is super tall, so I'm probably going to end up being a power fighter. Right. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, I do see that as a downside, but you know, it does make sense that they're going this way.
Yeah, it does. I mean, you know, I'm the same way. I prefer the speedier characters over the more powerful ones. I just like getting in and out of fights. So even with my character, I have to change that somewhat, or at least try it out. Because who knows how much variation they have between, you know, the speedy fighters and the bigger ones. I mean, what's the threshold? I guess that's the question. There is like, at what size and which weight do you have to? Does your Mii have to be for it to become one or the other? So there's a lot of leeway here. So they might have just like certain sections, you know, roped off. Like, okay, if you're in this area, your Mii's a power fighter. If you're in this area, you're a speed fighter. That would make the most sense for it. It's great to see that it's in there, but I can see it's being sort of an inconvenience for people who want to have a specific way of fighting for their character. But, you know, that's, you know, relatively easy to change, but still that you have to go through and mess with the sliders a bit. Yeah, it could be a little bit of a pain, but yeah, overall, I'd say it's a good thing.
The only thing I have to add is, how's it been 2 weeks now, and we've gotten Pac-Man details, Mii Fighter details, but no Palutena details?
That's weird, right?
I want Palutena info.
I want to see if I'm right.
Yeah.
With my guesses on her moveset. No, I mean, that's a very good point, actually. Like, why
it's weird.
Haven't we seen anything of Palutena?
The only thing we saw was that home run contest picture of her, and then that's it. Like, you know, for a newcomer, especially one that's been as you know, hyped as she's been, there's been nothing on her since they're like, her reveal came and went with almost no fanfare.
Well, I swear Sakurai loves to troll us when it comes to Palutena. Like, like, you know, all the teases like, oh, she might be in there, you know, it could happen, and then she's in here, but we're not going to show you anything of her anymore, and we're not going to give you any indication of what her actual moveset is. You'll go nuts trying to, like, you know, figure it all out. But yeah, I'd like to see some more info on her, that's for sure.
I think we all do.
Yeah, I still think it would be really cool if we got one update with 2 screenshots that were incredibly similar to the, you know, quote-unquote leaks from a few months back. That I think we've all kind of decided that wasn't an actual model and it was a really well-done fake. But I'd love to see Sakurai kind of troll the community by posing Palutena like that and releasing, you know, legit screenshots like that.
That'd be pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Alright, well I think that wraps up our Smash Brothers discussion, so thanks guys for watching. If you liked our discussion, make sure to like and follow us on Facebook and Twitter at GameXplained, which you can find links to in the description below. And of course, keep an eye on GameXplained.com for more on Smash Brothers Wii U and 3DS and other things gaming as well. Alright, thanks guys. Bye.